Hello again! So, what I wanted to talk about today is how I use less makeup. And the reason for that, and the reason why I think it could be an interesting video for you, is because I haven't really seen anyone talk about using less makeup from this point of view. What I've seen is that people are always talking about how many tools they are using to do their makeup, kind of brushes they are using. They are using maybe two-sided brushes instead of one-sided brushes. That is what usually minimizing makeup videos are all about, how much makeup they have in general. And I do see why that could happen, because if you are coming from a place where you have lots and lots of makeup, then that is the first thing that you should be doing, and that is the first thing that you naturally think about. You want to downsize your makeup collection. But I think it is just as important, or maybe even more important from another point of view, is to use actually less makeup on your face. Because I think there is a commonly accepted way of how people do their makeup, and it is always a full face of makeup, and it is always primer, foundation, concealer, and everything that you can imagine. I have 7 tips for you. So the first tip that I have is that you should choose a makeup look that is suited for you, and you should stick with that makeup look. I think it is a pretty good philosophy to try and find yourself a good makeup look that is suited for you, not only because it makes it easier to put on makeup every day, it makes life easier in the sense that you can always go to that makeup look and you don't have to use much makeup, but there is an upside that you will look very similar every day. For some reason, I really like that idea that you are not always trying to look different. You are always looking like yourself, and you are comfortable that way. My second tip is actually connected to the first tip. Having a makeup look that is good for you actually helps when you are tempted to buy even more makeup. You can always ask yourself before buying that makeup item, is that makeup item in line with what I already have? So do I really need it actually? If it's something that would enhance that makeup look, is that really suited for that makeup look, or is it gonna make it look totally different from your own style? Which is not good, and which I don't think that you should be doing, because that is the kind of decision that you are gonna regret later. Essentially, having a makeup look that is good for you is very similar to deciding on what kind of clothes you're gonna wear, so having a capsule wardrobe, for example. I think you can see my point that if you have a capsule wardrobe, if you have decided on the colors, then buying a clothing item that is very fashionable at the moment, for example, but it is not in line with the entire style of your wardrobe, then that is not gonna work on the long term, and you're just gonna regret buying that. So these first tips were just the foundation. You see what I did there? Were just the foundation for the actual tips on how to use less makeup on your face. So the third trick that I pretty much started using very early on in my life is that instead of having foundation, concealer, primer, and lots of stuff, I only used foundation. So even when I'm covering up some imperfections or I'm covering up my under eyes, I'm only doing that with foundation and with powder. And the next tip that I have for you, I think, is the core of the entire way that I use less makeup, is that you shouldn't do a full face of makeup. That is pretty interesting because everyone uses a full face of makeup. Even people who are trying to minimize their makeup, and even people who are trying to use less makeup, are using a full face of makeup. They are putting on foundation on their entire face. I think that mindset was left over from when I was younger and I didn't use foundation at all. I just used makeup on my eyes. When I was getting older, I was thinking about maybe using foundation on my entire face, but the whole thing just felt uncomfortable and I was not feeling comfortable in my own skin. It was just weird to think about something covering up my entire face, and that is why I never did that. How I'm doing that, I am only putting makeup on my eyes. I cover my under eyes and I cover up any imperfections that I have, but only in very small spots, so actually where I need it. So the whole point of that is to make my entire face look even and actually achieve the same look that I think I would with foundation and concealer and everything else, but still keeping my face breathing and still being able to touch my face if I want to, without having to worry about smushing everything. Next advice that I have for you, you should pick something that you want to emphasize on your face. So you can either choose emphasizing your eyes or emphasizing your lips. And my mindset about that is that if you are emphasizing your eyes, then you don't have to use lipstick. If you are using lipstick, then you don't have to do an eye makeup. If you are using a very strong lip color, then you can get away with not using your eye makeup, and you can even sometimes, if your skin is really clear, then you can get away with not using any foundation either. I think that the first thing that they are teaching you in makeup school is that you should always have everything covered in makeup, and that is how you can achieve a really great look. But on an everyday basis, for everyday use, I think it is best to use less makeup, because the less makeup you use, the less it's gonna smudge, the more comfortable you will feel in your own skin, because you won't feel much difference with makeup or without makeup. And you know, there is the feeling when you are taking off your makeup after a long day. You don't have to feel so different with your makeup and without your makeup. So moving on to the next thing, which I know I already mentioned, but it needs to be said again. If you are covering up any imperfections, it is best to only cover that part up of your face, because I think it is best that, for example, 90% of your face can still breathe and can be still on fresh air, instead of having it covered in makeup and having it not be able to breathe and maybe even clogging up the pores, and the result of that will be more imperfections on your face. And the last tip that I have, the 7th tip, it is like a number from a fairy tale. The 7 tips to use less makeup. It could be a fairy tale, right? The 7 magical tips of using less makeup. That sounds pretty nice. If this would be a cartoon, I would watch it. The 7th tip that I have is, I felt like this needed to be mentioned, that if you really want to use less makeup, then you should just have days when you don't wear makeup at all. I know for me it was very hard to do. There was the time at the end of high school, on every weekday I was wearing makeup. I was only not wearing makeup on the weekends, and I was very self-conscious about not wearing makeup on weekdays, so not wearing makeup to school, not wearing makeup to work for a very long time. I just got comfortable enough with the fact that, well, this is my face. I can't really do much about it, but I think it is best that if you don't feel like wearing makeup, or if you are sick, for example, and you don't want to wear makeup, then just don't wear makeup at all. And I know that this could be a very reasonable tip, that if you really want to use less makeup, then don't wear makeup at all. But I think if you don't enjoy makeup and if you don't really like makeup, then of course don't wear it. It is not a question of having to wear makeup. It is just a question of, do you really like it? Because I like wearing makeup occasionally, and that is why I wear it. But I definitely don't think that makeup should be something that you are not supposed to wear, and I don't think that makeup should be something that you are supposed to wear, because otherwise you don't look like a human. I don't know if you have been watching Mad Men, which I really liked that series for a while, but I didn't finish it because it started to get weird. But in that, Betty Draper said that she is gonna put on her face, which is an expression that I really dislike, because it really suggests that that is your face, that is your actual face that you can show the world, and otherwise you are not really a human. Definitely something that I don't agree with. I think I pretty much covered how I feel about wearing makeup or not wearing makeup at all. I really hope that these tips could help some of you if you really want to use less makeup on your face, because you feel like it shouldn't be a full face of makeup every single day, which I totally agree with you on that. And maybe if you have your own tips, then please share them. As always, I'm always saying that because I'm actually interested. And if you have been doing these things already, for example, if you are only covering up your imperfections and you are not putting on a full face of makeup, then it would be really fun if you told me, because I have never met anybody who was doing the same thing that I am regarding makeup. People usually don't wear makeup or they wear a full face of makeup. So that would be really fun to know that some of you are out there. So anyways, I hope these tips were helpful for you and have a very nice day.